Hey guys, welcome to Cerebral Stick Up. We're very happy to have you back. And today we've got a very special guest. Her name is Mindi Obrien. Mindi is an IFBB pro fitness and physique athlete. She's a coach, a trainer, and overall fitness enthusiast. And we'd like to pick her brain a little bit today on this episode of what she thinks about nutrition, fitness, the fitness industry as a whole. So again, guys, please welcome Mindi Obrien. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, clear,
Good.
loud and clear. How are you doing today, Mindi?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. Can't complain. Sorry about trying to get on. Couldn't do it. I don't think it lets you until the actual host of the meeting gets on. That's probably what the issue
Yeah,
is.
I think so. I'm not very computer savvy, so
It's all right, no problem. I think not too many people were until this whole, Corona thing hit, and then everybody had to kind of get computer savvy real quick. I haven't used Zoom until this whole Corona thing started. That's kind of how I found about this program, this application. So, how's your life like with Corona? The COVID virus going on. Like, has it changed at all?
well, obviously you had to do, it affected everyone's business and you just take precautions, but honestly, I sounds bad, but I actually wanted to press the pause button without feeling guilty and then it's been nonstop go, go, go. And so I felt guilty if I took time off from my clients and I didn't want to let them down. And didn't want to take time for myself, but then that hit and it was like, oh, I didn't even have to do it without guilt. So I actually, yeah, it was good for me.
Yeah, so you're enjoying the break, basically.
Yeah, I found a different way to do it, so now I'm doing Zoom online for like workouts and stuff, and I still
Right.
have my online clients and stuff like that, because you still want to be able to hold up to your end and help people out. But
Sure.
as far
Sure.
as taking a bit of downtime, it was good.
Mhm. Have you found that you have less clients now because of doing it through the internet, excuse me, or you think have about the same amount?
Initially, I put everybody's membership on pause because I really didn't know what to do with everybody,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel right, I'm making them pay for a membership that they weren't using. So, and then I started just doing free online stuff for everybody because I still felt responsible that I had to give back.
Right.
And then we started doing the Zoom, so I tried that for a couple weeks, and then the members came back. And my online clients, a lot of their competitions have been put on hold, but now we're using this time to keep plugging forward and
Hmm.
having a good off season. So
Yeah.
now, as far as that part, it wasn't really affected.
Hmm. So tell I guess everyone who's listening about how you got into fitness, like initially in your life.
Well, I was a competitive gymnast for over 15 years.
Mhm.
And then I found out I was pregnant when I was 8 months into my pregnancy, and I was maybe about 17 or 18, 17. And
Mhm.
so having a month to prepare, I really didn't have, much choice. So I ended up keeping my son. And then I found out, like, I was thinking, how am I obviously had to retire from gymnastics, but I loved the fitness industry and I loved
Mhm.
overall health and fitness. And then I still had this competitive bug. So I heard about fitness. And then back then this is going back to like 1992. My first show was in 96. So,
Mhm.
you had two choices, either bodybuilding or women's fitness. And I was drawn to women's fitness. So
Mhm.
basically that's how I got started into the fitness industry, competing.
And and how long did you compete? Are you still competing at this point?
No.
Okay.
So I started competing in fitness back in '96. I got my pro card in Canada. Well, back then, remember, you had to win the overall or you had to win your division and the overall.
Mhm.
So I won the 2004 Canadian Championships, and then 4 weeks later, I went and did the Southwest USA Pro Cup. I won that, and then my third show was the Olympia. So that was 2004, and then 2005 I did the Arnold Classic. So I've competed in every division in the IFBB except for bodybuilding. So I started in fitness, and then I fractured my back, and then I did figure, and then I took a bit of time off, and then I did women's physique, and
Okay.
then I retired officially at the Olympia in 2016 in women's physique. But then I got thinking the only division I haven't done is bikini, And anybody I talked to, they're like, you are not doing bikini. There's no way. And I was like, I think I can do it. So I kept staring at pictures. I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. And I hired Kimoto, and we dieted down for about, I must have been about maybe 10 months. So I totally transitioned. And then I competed in women's bikini and came third.
So, I mean,
And then
you came in third. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was, you know what, it really gave me an appreciation for all the divisions because they're all so different. You know, I know a lot of people kind of, when bikini came out, they used to mock it, but the girls have to train really hard. And the presentation round, because I'm an athlete, like that mindset, everything's focused. It was like, how do you be soft and sexy? And to me, that was the hardest part. And also because I was women's physique, I had to really lose a lot of size. So it was just a different mindset going into my training.
I was going to ask you about that, since you do, carry a little more muscle, to say the least, than bikini. How many pounds did you have of muscle did you lose? Do you remember? Do you recall?
Yeah, in women's physique, I'm not like I think in photos I look really big, but in real life on stage, I only weigh like about 124.
Okay, that's not
in
bad.
any of the divisions I've competed in. So except for women's bikini, I really had to drop a lot of size. I mean, I still looked athletic. I mean, you can't lose that look overnight, but I weighed about 114.
114. So about like 10 pounds or so, 9 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's significant. 9 pounds of, of muscle is a significant amount of muscle. People work, years to put on 9 pounds of muscle, so it's quite an accomplishment. And do you think, and I've had this conversation with multiple competitors, do you think that all the divisions are now getting to the point where they're just getting like harder and bigger, even some, even bikini?
Yeah, I think the sport's going to keep evolving like that. Like, I think that's really good that we brought in wellness, because now you're going to see the fuller figures. But yeah, I think bikini initially looked more like a bikini girl, like a beach girl initially. And now, yeah, there's a lot of conditioning. But back in 2006, 2007, I remember we were all getting a little too hard. We were pushing the envelope a little bit. And then the IFBB came out and saying everybody had to lose 20% lean mass. Do you recall that?
I don't remember that. So was that, what year did you say it was?
It must have been like maybe 2009, 2010. I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to change my mindset for that? Because I like to train hard and heavy, but it was just everybody was pushing the envelope a little bit too much, and they pulled it back.
Well, so, I think that's it's hard, like, right? Because weightlifting is one of those things where it's hard to not keep going forward. It's hard to motivate yourself to maintain. It's like if you're losing muscle, or it's one of those things where you want to push and push and push until you just can't push anymore. And it's hard to tell somebody, oh well, you have to go to the gym, but you can't gain any weight, like, or you can't gain any more muscle. And it's like, well, then why am I going to the gym? So it's I completely understand. So, and at that point, like, was that difficult for you to do?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly think that women's bikini was the hardest for me because I was only doing circuit training, barely lifting anything in my upper body. I mean, my upper body's pretty significant now. Like, I'm not training that much now, and I still have biceps. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's incredible right there. That you flexing. Like,
yeah. So it was me, like, just really, it was more of a mindset going, okay, I have to do an hour of circuit training, hitting my upper body maybe once or twice a week, but really going to the track and just trying to detrain my legs. It was like miles and miles of walking lunges and sprints and just detraining.
Are you naturally like a fairly lean person? Have you always been like, pretty lean, just your metabolism kind of high?
Yeah. Mind you, I watch what I eat all the time. I believe this is a lifestyle. It's not something you train for one day and then the next day you blow up. It's a lifestyle. So.
Well, that was going to be my next question after you answered that. So you do watch what you eat, like majority of the time. You don't let yourself kind of get too big.
No, for me, one, it's just overall health and fitness. I feel better when I'm in control of my food. If you honestly asked a competitor, when did you feel your best? They'll say, when I was dieting for a show. Well, why? Not to the extreme level, but like as you were prepping for your show, because you were always in charge of what you were putting in your body. It was all healthy food. You know, if you refueling the body every couple of hours, so you feel good. And then all of a sudden you stop and you go, you need to like shit for the, can I swear? Sorry, I swear a lot. You know, you go back.
Try not to. I'll let that one slide.
Sorry.
No,
So
no,
yeah,
no.
you go back and you start eating like a lot of processed foods, sugars, and then they start complaining that they have, you know, inflammation of the gut and their joints hurt. I don't want to feel like that. So, and I've never felt like that. So I just always eat healthy and I feel good and I know what I'm putting into my body. So
Yeah, yeah. I do think that's the key, right? Because it's like you lose that athlete feel when you're on season and then you kind of blow up in like in the off season. Because if you think about it, most athletics, they don't do that. Like LeBron James doesn't get horribly out of shape when he's not in season for the NBA. Like he's still in good shape, you know.
yeah.
So if you're comparing it to other sports, then you kind of have to also like be that way. I remember just not that long ago, Sean Roden, he did like a guest posing, and people gave him so much, you know, crap about it. And I mean, I understand why. It's because he looks so just out of shape, and he at that time he was the reigning, you know, Mr. Olympia. So it is something to be said about that. I do completely agree with you. Do you think that the guts that we're seeing, especially almost exclusively really in the men's bodybuilding, is from that?
I guess so. I really don't know. I just you don't really see that many of the guys getting really big off season anymore. Not like back in the day, you know, when they really like did the bulk phase. I honestly I don't know what that's from, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody has kind of their own opinion on you know what it could be. So at what point did you start like coaching and training people? Like as soon as you started competing, or did that come later on?
No, it was actually at the 2004 Canadian Nationals, maybe a little bit before. I had a few girls under my wing, you know, that just wanted to start, you know, just competing in figure or whatever. But no, it was actually at the 2004 Canadian Championships that there was a big write-up saying I was coming back to get my pro card, because I kept trying and trying and trying. And I was like, you know, it was just like, just pay your dues, pay your dues. That's what I kept hearing. And it was so frustrating. So I had focused for a year and a half just putting a kick-ass routine together, making sure that my physique was great, that my mindset was good, and I wasn't going to walk away without that title. I wanted my pro card. But I got to the venue really early, and I set up, got organized so I could mentally prepare. I went to the bathroom when I came back, and these girls, a team of girls, they came and took my stuff and threw it all over the floor.
Wow. Oh,
So
wow.
I'm like, who does? And back then you couldn't have coaches or anybody backstage with you, so you were literally all by yourself. So I was like, well, who does that? So then I went and took my stuff and put it like in this little corner, but with a photographer. I'd asked him if I could use his space, and he said, no problem. Well, that year I decided to wear a white bikini, which I don't recommend ever now, hindsight. I was in line just to go on stage, and this girl, she walked by and elbowed me. So I was like literally going to go on stage, and now I had this brown smear of protein all over my top. And I was like, who does that? And I watched the girl go back and talk to her friends, and they were all laughing.
Wow.
So it was like, I was like so upset, but I'm like, okay, well, I can't control this now, so I'm just going to go out and present what I have. Thank God I won, and it worked in my favor. But it was at that time after I had said to my husband at the time, I'm like, you know what? Nobody should have to go through that ever again. It's up to the judges the day of the show who's going to win the show. It should be fun, and we're all in this together, so we should all support one another. And it was like the next day I decided to take on a team of girls. So that's how we got started, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
The journey is a lot more fun, because for me, since '96, I've been by myself, and it's been a lonely journey. So
yeah. It does bring an element of like camaraderie. You know, it's an individual sport, so it's like anytime you can bring an element of camaraderie is going to like benefit, you know, in your favor. That's amazing to me that someone, you know, that people would do something like that, you know. you know, these are grown adults, you know, like
Well,
why would you
I
even do
know.
that?
Well, even one year here in Ontario, at one of the bigger shows, girls' shoes were going missing, their suits were going missing. It was
Unbelievable.
ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that before, but that year was really bad.
Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. Yeah, that's crazy. So, would you say that most of your clients now are competitors or more lifestyle?
Maybe a couple years ago, they were basically all competitors.
Hmm.
Over the last couple years, I've made the transition. So now I'm working with more like women that just want to get in shape.
Hmm.
I want to get back to my community and be able to create that atmosphere because, you know, you go to a bigger box gym and you see a group of women just doing the same thing over and over and over again. They stay in the
Hmm.
women's section and they're doing everything wrong. And then they quit because they're not doing what they should be doing. So I just have a small women's gym, and then we all work, and it's a tight little community. We all support each other, and we just help each other
Hmm.
out. And then I do have the competitive side, which really is where my passion is. And then I have a group of girls that I compete and
Right.
train for them. So yeah.
So obviously, like the girls that are competitive, like I understand you're probably putting them through more of a bodybuilding type of routines and things like that. What about the women that are just lifestyle, they're trying to get in shape? I know you mentioned that a lot of times they don't do things right, they kind of stay in their little area at the gym. Do you put them through a similar type of workout, or is it completely different? Like how does that work?
Um, we kind of teach it in baby steps, making sure
Mhm.
that their technique, their form, all that's correct. A lot of them are afraid to use the machines, so we make sure that we set everybody up properly so they learn everything, you know, where the settings are and everything. But no, we all like I have maybe about 15 ladies at a time in a group, and they just all go from circuit to circuit, and then it's just usually me going and like correcting them,
Mhm.
and it's just really fun for me to watch them get stronger or challenge them like, come on, you can lift 5 more pounds or get one more rep. You know, there's women that come in here and can't even do a push-up, and now they're
Oh
doing
yeah.
50 in a row. It's like my mom, believe it or not, she's 73. She comes to all my camps, and
Wow.
she's like, she can rep out 25 push-ups. She's doing all the
Wow.
Zoom camps. It's like ridiculous.
You must
Yeah.
have good genetics if your mom can do that.
Yeah, I know. I tell her all the time, good breeding, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's such a fulfilling, you know, like work that you're doing to helping, you know, women get in better shape. Because I think, you know, fitness has become much more popular with like social media and everything than it used to be. There's way more women kind of like showing that they're fit now, but still, I do feel like I come across a lot of like everyday women that have, you know, never even seen the inside of a gym, never picked up a weight. And it's just, you know, and they often do complain about like the way they look or what they can and can't do. But it's like, I feel like they need that, at least initially, that coaching, you know, to kind of push them in the right direction. I remember when I first, you know, got married. My wife, most of what she did was cardio, like it was just walking or running or things of that nature. And you know, I kind of introduced her to weights. And at first, it was like, you know, not her most exciting like time at the gym. You know, let's put it that way. And
Yeah.
now she, you know, and this is many years later now, but she she pushes me, you know, to go and train. So it's, you know, it takes time to, you know, to solidify that in somebody. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
think it's changing their mindset. You know, we always say, I can't do that. I can't do that. Or they're afraid. But once they see that they can do it and you change their mindset and then they start seeing a bit of results, I really think then they become addicted or whatever, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's inspiring to me. And I feel like once somebody starts doing something like I had a lady in here not that long ago and she was probably in her 70s and she was getting on the gravitron and she wanted to see everybody else do pull-ups on the gravitron, the assisted pull-up machine,
Hmm.
and she's like, I'm going to do that. I'm like, oh gosh. I was a little bit nervous, but she did it because she
Wow.
watched everybody else do it and that made her day.
Right.
So that was really kind of cool. So
Right. That is cool. That sounds exciting actually to see. So you know, you do the personal training thing. Is there anything else that you're involved in outside of just training?
yeah, so I promote 2 shows here in Ontario, like Canada. I have the
Mm-hmm.
Mindi show. It's a regional show with the CPA, the Canadian Physique Alliance. And then Bob Ciccarillo, the voice of bodybuilding,
Right.
and we run the Niagara Falls Pro-Am in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Awesome. So let me ask you this, you being a promoter of 2 shows, I see in the background, you've got the Mindy show sign up there. So how, with the virus and everything going on, like what's happening with that? What have you had to deal with? Is the show still going on? Like what's going to happen?
Yeah, so I had to cancel the Mindy show. I kept delaying it and postponing it. And then, you have to really sit back and think from a business perspective.
Right.
Is it beneficial? But then it was also taking in consideration, what are these athletes going through? Because the gyms have been shut down. We're still in phase 3 or phase 2. We haven't even opened up our gyms here. So this week alone, we'd be like six weeks out from the Mindy show. So who can get ready in 6 weeks? So ideally that part, it didn't make sense. And then just their health, and people aren't working. And I think their priority at this point is to put food on their table and keeping their roof over their head.
Right.
And then how many people can come to the venue as spectators? And then, you just don't know what the policy is these days. Right. So it's a risk on both sides for the health of everybody involved, and also from a business perspective.
Sure.
It's a huge overhead.
Sure.
The Niagara Falls show, it's supposed to be November 7th. So, I mean, the borders aren't even open yet. Our plan is to move forward with it. We'd love to put on our pro show and our amateur show. The amateur side of it is 2 weeks before the pro qualifier here. So for the athletes, 2 weeks before show is huge. You can make those fine tweaks and go and do your best there. So that part would be really good. Again, we're just waiting to hear what the borders are going to be like, and just what the policy is of the venues. But other than that, Bob and I are ready to go. So
it's hard. It's hard on the promoters. I mean, it's hard on everybody, but I do feel for the promoters, because it's kind of like, you love this, you love the sport, you want to do this, but at the same time, it's like a lot of times, if there's a pro show, you're giving out money. Well, where's that money coming from? Well, a lot of times it comes from audience members, ticket sales. You got an NPC show, maybe you have the amateurs apply, but how many people are going to come? Audience members are probably going to be nothing, so it's like, how do you battle that? One thing I thought about, and someone mentioned it in the past, was about live streaming it and charging for, what was it, advertisements on the live stream. Right. Have you guys considered that maybe?
Yeah, we've talked about it just recently. Again, I don't know if you're going to be able to cover your overhead. I mean, your sanctioning fee alone for a pro show with 3 divisions is huge. Yeah. And then with the Canadian exchange, that's 30%. You know what I mean? It's a risk. So
it's tough.
Yeah, we really would like to do that. I did a live stream before for one of my shows. We did the Mindi Fitness Extravaganza, and we teamed up with the House of Hardcore Wrestling. So it was on the Fight Network before, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that does sound cool. Yeah. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult time. I do see some of the girls that I've had on the show. They're traveling in the United States to go to a show here, a show there, but it's very scarce. It's it's tough. And so what do you think about, they're having the Olympia right in December, I think. Do you think we're going to see a diminished athlete core? Are they not going to be as good as they were last year because of everything that's going on?
I think when you're at that level, I think you find a way to get to a gym. You're going to find a way. I think just the only thing that may hinder the level of the amount of athletes is just travel. Yeah. And that's kind of out of our control at this point. But no, if I had the opportunity to compete at the Olympia right now, I'd be working my butt off to get there. I know I would be able to do it. I mean, it's a huge opportunity, right? So I think the quality of athletes, I think they're going to be just fine. And I'm really hoping that the Olympia follows through. It's exciting, new owners, and now it's at Planet Hollywood. It's super exciting. So.
Yeah, interesting. So let me ask you this: when you dive people down for a show, what kind of philosophy do you have? I know some people are very keto, they have a keto philosophy. Others have other ideas on how to dive people down. Do you have a particular philosophy that you follow with people?
I like to work with my athletes long enough so I know how their body's going to adapt to different changes. So everyone's a little bit different, you know, like for me personally, if I don't deplete all my water and then fill up like properly carbs, I just look smooth and flat. And that's been trial and error, obviously. But and then I've just used myself as a guinea pig essentially. But then with the girls that I do coach, yeah, I work with them long enough so we get them ready ahead of time. We'll maybe do a photo shoot, just a dry run, and I kind of like just kind of know what their body's gonna look like, and then they keep track of their stuff too. They send video updates nonstop as we get closer to the show. Because this is the funniest part, because I was working with George Farah for a while, and in photos I don't look good. I would send him my updates. He's like, "Oh, O'Brien, you're fat." I'm like, "I'm not fat. I'm like ripped to shreds." "No, O'Brien, you're fat." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not. George, trust me." Yeah. So we were going back and forth. I'm like, "I'm sending you a video." And then as soon as I sent him the video, he was like, "Oh shoot, you're really
you're fine.
You're ripped." So it was like, because it's long distance, right? He's in the States and I'm here. So I find that video footage is a lot better. It's more accurate. So I get my athletes to do that a lot of the time. And then we just dial in at the end. But every athlete I coach is different.
It's interesting how pictures and videos and even lighting like makes such a difference on how you look. I mean, you could, like you said, you could be shredded and it doesn't show up, or you could have some body fat on you, but the angle of the picture, the look, like, you know, with the lighting can make you look incredible. So, you know,
absolutely.
What about like as far as this, have you noticed that in your career as far as like stage lighting? I know a lot of competitors talk about stage lighting. Like, what's the best and worst stage lighting like to you?
Well, I personally don't like really any of my stage shots. I don't. Usually well, in my routines, I always am constantly moving. So there's not enough time to get a shot, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, stage lighting is huge. And you always hear it from the photographers. Really, you'll go down and talk to them after, especially being a promoter. You know, I always want to know what the photographers think of the lighting. So how can I improve it for the next year or whatever? But yeah, lighting is huge for the athletes. And also, I think from the judges' perspective, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny. It was like one time, I think some people were discussing, I was listening to another podcast. I believe it was Dave Palumbo's podcast. And they were discussing Dorian Yates, like a picture where he didn't look that great. And people would say, "Oh, he didn't look that great." And one of the people that was there at that show said, "No, he looked amazing." It's like just the picture didn't show that. So it's crazy how that works. So Mindi, at this point, like, you know, with everything going on, your show being canceled, you know, November might happen. Like, what else, do you have anything else on the horizon, or are you just focusing on your training and your clients at this point?
Well, right now I'm just kind of revamping my business. You know, I don't think the gyms are ever go back to the way they were. And I've been using this time just to do more studying, getting more courses under my belt, just filling out my toolbox, really, and just more networking and stuff. Other than that, I'm just waiting for opportunities to come. So.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan, because I mean, this is a good time to get like any certifications if you want some, you know, if you wanted to endeavor into you know, another business. This is a good time to do it, you know, as long as it's not, you know, has anything to do that's being affected by coronavirus.
Yeah,
so during this time, I've been doing so many more interviews, just because everybody's kind of, you know, got a little bit more time. Nobody's like really traveling that much, or they're more available. You know, it's a benefit in some ways, it's a loss in others, but I guess it's whatever you make it, you know, whatever you decide you want to do with that time, you know.
Where are you based out of?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So in the States.
How is it there for you guys?
So initially, when this virus hit, we were like one of the epicenters. So like, we weren't as bad as New York, but we were getting pretty bad. Now, like the second wave that we're having, we're not horrible, but they're still taking like strong precautions. Like, there's more now. We're seeing a rise, but not like Florida. Like, Florida is terrible right now. I don't know if you've heard, but it's like they're one of the worst ones now. And my in-laws are there. My wife is from Florida. So, you know, it's, they're just, you know, trying their best to stay out of the way, you know, just where, but
Yeah.
we have, in Nashville here, we have, like a mask requirement now. So you'll get a fine if you don't, you know, if you don't wear one out in the public. The gyms were at normal capacity. Now they just recently, within the last week, they cut it down to 50%. So, you know, so they're taking steps to reduce it. You know, everything is so up in the air. Every week is different, you know. And I think one of the major things, and I don't know if like with how it is in Canada, but I think sometimes depending on who you listen to, you'll get different information, you know, about the virus. So it could be as bad as, you know, as like the Black Plague, and it could be, and you listen to somebody else and you think it's just a common cold, you know, so and anything in between.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how it is. So
Yeah, it's scary. I never thought we'd live through something like this.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Who would have thought, right? Like it was like within, like what we heard about it in China, and then in the States it was like what, maybe a month after that, month and a half, and it started like ramping up here. So
Yeah. Were you at the Arnold when they like, you know, almost canceled the trade show and everything?
Yeah. So interesting story. That day, like it was Thursday, I was gonna fly out Thursday night, and I was so excited. I haven't been to the Arno for a couple of years. So I was like, oh, this is, you know, I'm gonna get to go again, like get to meet people, watch people, whatever. And then I look online and I see that they've canceled it. And I'm like, well, I guess I better call Southwest and tell them that I'm to cancel my tickets. You know, were you going? Did you go?
I drove. I went there.
You did
I
drive.
physically went. Yeah. So it was weird because I go every year, but you know, it kind of sucked as far as that the Arnold suffered. But for me personally, it really gave me a lot of time to catch up with people and talk, because
Yeah.
everyone's usually like chaotic and running everywhere. But it was nice to actually sit down and talk to people, have conversations, you know?
I can
So,
imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. There's a lot less people. I can imagine that you'll get more one-on-one time with people for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's, from what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've read and what I've heard, Arnold actually had to really battle with government there to let them, you know, even have the athletes part of the show, because they wanted to cancel the entire thing completely, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
it's.
I heard too. And then I did go to Arnold's interview like on the Sunday, and
Mhm.
you know, he was really apologetic, but he was great. So
Yeah, I'm sure it was something that he was not expecting either, because from what I read, it happened pretty fast. It was just like, you know, all of a sudden they announced that he found out about it, you know, and then they just went to negotiating. So at that point, so
yeah, it was
um, did
crazy.
you besides having less people there, did you notice anything else different? Like was the town different? Like was everything shut down in the town?
Oh my God. When was the last time you actually went to the Arnold?
Oh, it was, I said probably 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, you couldn't even find parking or anything, right?
Right.
Like when you went,
Uh-huh.
oh, it was a ghost town. Like it
Like
was sad.
like tumbleweeds, like in the cowboy
Exactly.
movies.
That part was really eerie, but
Wow. Mm.
yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Wow. But you went there and came back safely.
Oh yeah, I was fine.
Yeah.
At that point, I really didn't know, like, I really didn't know what was going on. I'm like, this is crazy.
Right. It was still fresh. It was still new. You know, now we're kind of more acclimated to everything. So,
Yeah.
well, Mindy, thank you for your time. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks
I'm
for having me.
Yeah, of course. Guys, if you like this video, please like at the bottom and subscribe. And Mindy, again, I know you're a very busy person. I appreciate you coming on, and you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Armin.
All right,
Bye,
take
guys.
care.
Take care. Bye.